Hello and welcome back everyone, we Weeb Online, and today I'm gonna continue the story What If Naruto Was Trained by Minato, Part 5. If you enjoy this video, please give it a big thumbs up, and to watch more videos like this, subscribe to my channel and turn that bell notification on so you never miss an upload. Now wasting no more time, let's begin.
Just outside Konoha. So this is Konoha? Haku asked as the gates of Konoha came into view. They were walking in the center of their group. In front of them were Sasuke and Sakura and Kakashi, who was walking behind them, reading his book like always. Yeah, this is Konoha, Naruto said slowly from where he was walking next to her. I think you will really like it here. Unlike Kiri, Konoha loves bloodlines. Haku looked very relieved when she heard Naruto's words. I had heard that, but it is very good to hear it from someone who lives there. Naruto leaned closer to Haku. Just one warning, don't let anyone but Hokage Gigi know that you have a bloodline. Right now Kakashi-sensei and I are the only ones who have any clue about it. It would be a good idea if it stayed that way. If the council finds out, they will try to force you into the CRA, the Clan Restoration Act. Trust me, you do not want that. Thank you for the warning, Naruto-kun. You're welcome, Haku-chan, Naruto said, putting an emphasis on the chan, and getting a little laugh from Haku in return. As their conversation reached a lull, Kakashi caught up to them. Hurry up, you two. Let's catch up to the others so we can enter all at once. Naruto looked up at Kakashi as he passed before looking back to Haku. Let's go, Haku-chan. They quickly caught up to the rest of Team 7, just in time to reach the main gate. When they passed through the gate, they went to the guard box and stopped in front of Izumo and Katetsu, the Eternal Gate guards. Kakashi walked up to the two and gave a little cough to get their attention. Team 7 is returning from a mission with one other who is seeking citizenship. Katetsu and Izumo looked up at them briefly, their eyes growing large when they saw Haku. Good to see you back, Team 7, you may enter. Kakashi nodded and motioned for Team 7 and Haku to follow him. Thanks. Let's go, team. We need to go check in with the Hokage. As they walked down the main street, the Hokage Tower was a direct trip from the main gate. Haku noticed the occasional cold glare directed in their direction. No, they were directed in Naruto's direction. She didn't get long to ponder on the glares before they reached the tower. When they did, they just walked right in and walked up the stairs until they reached the top floor. Kakashi talked to the receptionist at her desk for a moment before they were waved into the office. The office was the same as always, with bookshelves lining almost all of the walls, the 4 portraits of the previous and present Hokage, and the kind old man sitting behind a desk with large piles of paperwork. The entire trip from the gate, Haku had become more and more on edge. Naruto noticed this and put his right hand on her left shoulder and squeezed it before refocusing on the path in front of them. Hey Gigi, we're back, Naruto said, almost shouted, as he walked through the door. Hello Naruto. Who is this beautiful young lady? And how was your first C-rank mission? The old Hokage asked. This is Yuki Haku. She was at one point from Mizu no Kuni, but we ended up running into her on our mission. But the mission was great, though I'm pretty sure it was a B or A rank mission by the end. The Hokage shot Kakashi a very piercing glance. Kakashi, would you care to explain? Kakashi looked slightly uncomfortable. Yes, Hokage-sama. First of all, this was definitely an A- rank mission. A couple hours out of Konoha we were attacked by 2 Chunin-level Nuke Nin who we knocked out and Naruto interrogated with a truth seal. While he was doing that, we found out from Tazuna that the person who was trying to kill him was Gato. The shipping tycoon? The professor interjected. Yes sir. Apparently he had taken over all shipping into and out of Wave Country through a combination of buying everything out and his thugs forcing the owners to sell their property. The bridge our client, Tazuna, was building would break his monopoly on trade and allow their economy to recover. Gato didn't much like that, so he hired a few Nuke Nin to kill him. They were the Oni Kyodai, Momoichi Zabuza, and his adopted daughter Haku. The Hokage shoots a brief glance at Haku and saw the sadness flicker over her face before turning his attention back to Kakashi. Continue. As you know, we encountered the Oni Kyodai about 10 kilometers into our trip. After that, our trip was uninterrupted until we had just arrived in Wave Country. A short while after we arrived, Naruto informed me that there were 2 chakra signatures ahead of us. I ordered him to take care of the second, Haku, while I took care of Zabuza. Only Zabuza confronted us, so he created a cage bunshin and Kawaramid with it to get out of the area unnoticed. I got trapped in a water prison and Sasuke along with Naruto's performed a combination wind, fire technique that sent Zabuza flying and freed me. During that time Naruto was led on a chase through the woods until he and Haku were several kilometers away. Haku used some type of technique to cover that distance almost instantly when she heard the explosion from the technique that Sasuke and the clone performed. She was disguised as a Kiri Hunter Nin and threw 2 senbon into Zabuza's neck and put him in a state of false death before taking his body away. I collapsed from a case of chakra exhaustion and would have been unable to do much for about a week if not for the soldier pill that Sakura had. After that we traveled to Tezuna's house and I taught my team some jutsu for the week until we expected our second encounter with Zabuza. Kakashi turned to Naruto. Naruto, could you explain your meeting with Haku? Sure, Kakashi-sensei. First of all, I sent a bunch of clones out to map Wave Country for my map project. Naruto started but paused when he saw the Hokage's curiosity. I'll show you later, Gigi. So I actually found their hideout pretty quickly after we arrived along with Gato's base. But a couple days into our stay at Tezuna's house I blew up at Inari, Tezuna's grandson, who had pretty much given up all hope. Anyway, I went into the forest to blow off some steam by training and ended up falling asleep. I was woken up by Haku here and we talked for a little while. I recognized her by her chakra signature and she recognized me from when she had seen me at the end of our fight with Zabuza. We tried to get info out of each other a couple times before she realized I recognized her as the Hunter Nin. During this time I had sent clones to spy on Gato under Henge and I heard him planning to betray and kill Zabuza. I asked Kakashi-sensei about it and I ended up sending a couple clones to try and warn Zabuza and Haku that Gato planned to betray them. It didn't work. Kakashi continued the story. So we fought once more, this time on the bridge. Naruto defeated Haku and placed a paralysis seal on her while I fought Zabuza. During our fight, Zabuza got away from me and tried to kill Tezuna. Sasuke managed to block the attack and in doing so he awakened his Sharingan. So we pretty much defeated him when Gato showed up with about a large number of thugs, probably about 200. Gato decided to give Haku to his thugs to have fun with when he found out Haku is a girl. Naruto had left her on the ground paralyzed and gone to check on everyone else when Gato appeared, leaving her helpless. In the end, Zabuza, Naruto, and I took care of most of the thugs while Zabuza killed Gato and Sasuke and Sakura killed a few of the thugs who tried to sneak up behind us. Zabuza was dying and he asked me to take care of Haku. His last words were telling Haku that he saw her as a daughter and to survive. Before anyone else had the chance to speak, Naruto spoke up again. While Gato was at the bridge, I had the clones that were spying on him raid his safes. There was about 45 million Ryo and a bunch of documents that I collected. I gave the Ryo and all of the documents that had to do with Nami back to Tezuna. I thought they could use them the most considering how much they suffered under Gato. I still have a bunch of documents that involve ownership of Gato's businesses among other things and I will give them to you as soon as I sort through them. I see, the Hokage said. Definitely an A- rank mission, and you will receive the pay to match. Sasuke and Sakura, you can go. I need to talk to Naruto and Haku for a few minutes before I let them go. Sasuke and Sakura just bowed their heads in acceptance before leaving. Naruto, tell me about the documents you took, Hiruzen commanded. I don't know much about them. My clones didn't pay much attention to what they took and just sealed them up before throwing them into my training area, Naruto said with emphasis on training area while he tapped the dimension scroll. I really wasn't in much of a state to go through them very thoroughly before. I had just had my first kill and a lot more after that in way of the thugs, so I wasn't in the best frame of mind. Okay. Just sort through those documents and get them to me quickly, Hiruzen said with a sigh before turning to Haku. Haku-san, I've got a few questions for you. After about 20 minutes of the Hokage asking Haku very piercing and revealing questions, he seemed very happy with the answers he had received. I'm very happy to allow someone like you to live in Konoha. Can you please tell me about your abilities? Hold on a second, Gigi, Naruto said, drawing everyone else's attention to him. Can you activate the privacy barrier before Haku-chan answers? Hiruzen raised an eyebrow when he heard Naruto use the chan suffix but quickly activated the privacy barrier like Naruto asked with a nod. When the walls glowed blue, Haku continued. I have the ability to create ice with my chakra, the height and bloodline of the Yuki clan. I'm glad that Naruto asked me to activate the barrier. Some factions of this village would try to force you into the CRA or make you a baby factory. As much as I dislike the idea, every village has those who would do things of that sort with little to no hesitation. How strong are you, Haku-san? I don't know exactly how strong I am, Haku replied. But I am probably somewhere between High Chunin and Junin. The Hokage looked at Kakashi and saw him nod in agreement. As Kakashi agrees, I will give you a Chunin ranking if you would like to be a shinobi. What is it you would like to do, Haku-san? Haku looked unsure for a moment, as if she was weighing her options. Would it be possible to train to be a medic? Even though I am a good fighter, I have never liked the necessity of killing and have even taught myself how to treat wounds. Most of what I can do is through herbs and the like. However, I would like to be able to use Iryo ninjutsu to treat wounds as well. I have nearly perfect chakra control, so I should be able to do so, but I have never had someone to teach me or even been able to find scrolls to explain the process. Very good, that is something I can easily help you with, the old Hokage said, happy at the prospect of gaining a medic of Haku's potential, especially one who has such potential on the battlefield as well. Here you go, he said as he took a Konoha Hite 8 from one of his drawers and handed it to Haku. Thank you very much, Hokage-sama, Haku said, almost in tears. You're very welcome, young lady. Now, the last question we need to answer is where you will be staying. After seeing the unsure look on the Hokage's face, Naruto decided to chip in. You can probably put her in the same complex as me. Both apartments next to me and the one across from me are empty. They emptied out shortly after I started living there and no one ever came to live in them. Thank you, Naruto. That will help a lot. Could you take Haku-san and get her one of those apartments? Tell Kenji-san I will arrange for payment for the first month of her stay there. Naruto nods and starts to turn to Haku when the Hokage speaks up again. One more thing. Come back tomorrow and I will set up a time for you to meet with Shibi-san like we discussed earlier. Thanks, Gigi, Naruto said before turning to Haku like he had started to before. Come on, Haku-chan, I'll take you to your new apartment. When he was finished saying that, he and Haku walked to the door which he held open before turning back to his sensei. Kakashi-sensei, come to my apartment sometime tomorrow morning. I've got something to tell you. Gigi, I've also got something important to tell you when I come see you tomorrow. Let's go, Haku-chan. Sakura and Sasuke are probably waiting for us outside. Okay, Naruto-kun, Haku said in return, much happier than she was when they entered the office. Naruto, Kakashi said, can you tell the other two that you have 2 days off, then we will meet at Training Ground 7 to train for the rest of the week before we will go on missions again. Sure. Kakashi-sensei. As soon as the two had left the office, Hiruzen reactivated the privacy barrier. How strong is she really? He asked as he turned to look at Kakashi. Kakashi looked thoughtful. I would judge that she is about Junin level. She has both the strength and the experience to fight equal with other Junin, and she will continue to get stronger as she gets older. The scary thing is that Naruto defeated her in combat. He is probably on par with her in fighting strength, if not a bit stronger, but without her experience. If they were to fight again, it is hard to say who would win. You should really take a look at Naruto's map too. It is a project on par with his sword. It is very impressive. The Hokage was a bit confused at that. Map? Sword? What are those? Can Naruto even use a sword? Kakashi's jaw almost dropped before he got himself back under control. It would probably be best if you just ask him to show you tomorrow when you see him again. That kid is very good at keeping secrets if he wants to. That he is, the Hokage said, determined to take Kakashi's advice and ask Naruto, so how is your team? Far beyond anything I could have ever imagined. They are all probably ready to become Chunin and in a few years Junin. You remember how I said that Naruto and Sasuke used a fire-wind combination? Kakashi waited until the Hokage nodded confirmation. Well, Sasuke used a simple Gokakyu no Jutsu, but Naruto used a technique that he created. It looked something like the Rasengan, at least in shape. He generated an insane amount of wind chakra that he confined into a spherical shell and compressed it. Then he threw the sphere into Sasuke's fireball, where the fire ate through the shell and the wind chakra burst out so quickly that the fireball exploded very strongly. It was very impressive. That doesn't much surprise me. I learned long ago to never underestimate him and got a reminder of that not too long ago. That isn't even the most impressive. I know he has pretty much mastered 3 elements, Kakashi said, and the old Hokage sputtered in amazement. I know. I wouldn't have thought it possible, but he told me that he had already mastered wind and water and was close to mastering earth the day after the Genin test. I am almost certain he wasn't lying or exaggerating. I suspect that he can create elemental orbs with each of the elements he has mastered, though I don't know what each one would do. I see, the old man said. Do you plan on entering them in the Chunin exams? I believe so. They did amazingly well on this mission. I will probably take them on some more C-rank missions before that, and while I would have preferred for their first kill to wait a bit longer, it has passed. And even though Naruto took it the hardest, as he killed the most people, they seem to be fine and ready to take missions again. They have had over 2 weeks to work through it after all. Actually, I think that is the reason that Naruto hasn't gone over the documents he acquired from Gato yet. I'm glad to hear that they are doing well. The first kill is always the worst. Thank you for telling me, the Hokage said thoughtfully. Unless you have anything else to tell me, you can go. Thank you Hokage-sama, Kakashi said and left the office. With Naruto, Haku, Sasuke, and Sakura. As soon as Naruto and Haku left the Hokage's office, they found Sasuke and Sakura sitting in the chairs in the reception room, waiting for them. Do you two want to come with us to get Haku's apartment? It is going to be in the same complex as mine, Naruto asked his two friends. Sasuke and Sakura looked at each other and nodded before Sakura spoke. Sure, we don't have anything else to do. Then do you want to help me show Haku around after the apartment is taken care of? Why not? Sasuke answered. Good, but before I forget, we have the next 2 days off, then we meet at Training Ground 7 for training at the normal time. Throughout their walk, the four of them made light conversation and pointed out places of interest to Haku, with her asking the occasional question. They only took about 15 minutes to get to Naruto's apartment complex, but they had a good time in each other's company. Upon reaching the complex, they went to the manager's room with Naruto quickly knocking on the door. Footsteps sounded from within along with a voice. Just a second, I'll be right there. A few seconds later the door opened and the manager stuck his head out. Hello Naruto-san. Hi Kenji. I actually came here today with some business for you, Naruto said as he gestured to Haku. Haku here is just moving to Konoha and Gigi wanted to rent an apartment for her. I knew that there were a few apartments surrounding mine that were free. Could she rent one of those from you? Kenji took a brief glance at Haku and nodded. That is no problem. I can give her room 303. That is obviously the room right next to yours. How are you going to pay? Gigi said that he would arrange to pay for the apartment for the first month of her stay here, and he is arranging for her to work at the hospital as a medic nin in training, Naruto quickly answered. That is fine, Kenji said and walked back into his room, returning with a key which he handed to Haku. Would you show her where it is, Naruto-san? No problem, he said before turning toward the stairs. Let's go everyone. Haku quickly followed Naruto and she was followed by the other two. They all quickly went up to the third floor with Naruto stopping and gesturing to a door with a large 303 plate on the front. Here you go Haku-chan. Haku went in, taking off her sandals at the front door. As she saw her new accommodations her eyes went wide, never expecting to be provided with such a nice place. Naruto, Sasuke, and Sakura just stayed in the living room as Haku explored. They already knew what it would look like as it was just the mirror image of Naruto's without any of the customization. Haku came running back into the room and threw her arms around Naruto's neck. Naruto's face became bright red at Haku's hug, much to his teammates' amusement. Thank you so much Naruto-kun, Haku said excitedly. I've never had such a nice place to stay, for that matter I've never had anywhere where I could stay permanently. I'm glad you like it Haku-chan, Naruto said, his face still bright red. Now that you have seen the place, would you like a tour of Konoha? Haku looked up and finally seemed to realize what she was doing as she stopped hugging Naruto and jumped back. Sorry about that Naruto-kun, Haku said, a bit bashful now, but I would love a tour. For the next 4 or 5 hours the three members of Team 7 showed Haku around Konoha, just enjoying themselves until Sasuke and Sakura needed to go home. So what do you want to do now, Haku-chan? Naruto asked when they were alone. We could always go get dinner, but is there anything else you want to show me first? Naruto said as he thought about what else he could show her. Yes actually, there is one more place. Follow me. Naruto led Haku into the woods near the base of the Hokage monument. After a few minutes of walking they came out on top of the Yondaimi's head and right out until they were standing at the highest point of the final head. This is my favorite place to come whenever I just need to think, and we came up here at the perfect time, he said as he pointed at the sun setting over the village. Haku seemed to be lost in the beautiful view and the colors of the sky. I can see why you like this place, she said when she finally came back to her senses. So what do you want to have for dinner? Naruto asked. Do you have a favorite place to eat? Of course, my favorite place serves the food of the gods. I would eat it every day if I could get away with it, but I would probably be short if I did. Haku chuckled. So what is this place called? Ichiraku Ramen. I've heard of ramen but I never tried it before. I guess there is a first for everything, the black-haired girl said. Okay. Let's go. Naruto practically cheered before grabbing Haku's hand and running back through the woods and straight to Ichiraku Ramen. You must really like this place, she said as soon as she caught her breath. Like I said, ramen is the best, the whiskered blonde said as they walked under the flaps, Haku's hand still firmly in his own. A fact that Ayame didn't miss as they walked up to the counter. Hi Naruto. How are you doing? We haven't seen you for a while. And who is your pretty frienda, the one whose hand you were holding? Ayame asked. Both young shinobi's faces were stained red as they sprang apart. I just got back from my first C-rank mission. Though it did end up turning into an A- rank mission, Naruto said, barely able to contain his laughter at Ayame's open-mouthed expression. This is Haku. She came back with us from the mission and was granted citizenship and allowed to train to be a medic nin. My team and I were giving her a tour until they had to come home, and I brought her to my favorite place to have dinner. So how do you like it here, Haku-san? I think I will really like it here. The people seem nice, at least the ones I have met, and it is a beautiful village. I'm glad you like it. What would you like to eat? With no hesitation Naruto spoke up, the same as always. 2-san. I need 3 miso, 2 chicken, 1 beef, and 1 vegetable, Ayame yelled into the kitchen. Naruto is back then? A voice replied from the back room. Haku chuckled when she heard the interaction, still looking through the menu. Can I have a shrimp ramen please? She asked politely. Sure, Ayame said before turning around and walking to the back. She picked up a bowl and said, 1 shrimp ramen 2-san. As she walked back to the counter to set the bowl in front of Naruto, Tucci stuck his head out of the kitchen and whistled. Brought a pretty friend with you, did you Naruto? It's about time. Here's her shrimp ramen Ayame and Naruto's second bowl. Ayame grabbed the bowls and put them down in front of Haku only to see her looking at Naruto in astonishment. How did you finish that already? And how can anyone eat that fact and still appear to be elegant about it? Naruto started laughing. I get that all the time. Don't worry about it, just worry about your own before the noodles start to get soggy. Haku followed his advice and took a bite of her ramen. This is really good, she said when finished her bite. I told you, Naruto said with another laugh. Haku joined him in laughter briefly. Yes you did. They continued eating their meal with a very friendly atmosphere, and when they finished, they went back to their apartment complex. Stopping outside Haku's room, Naruto finally remembered something he had meant to do. Haku, before I say goodnight, I've got a gift for you, Naruto said as he took out his storage scroll and unsealed the ice flower. When you gave this to me I placed a couple seals on it so it won't melt or easily break, Naruto finished as he tucked the flower behind Haku's ear. This is my gift to you. I thought you would like it. Haku's eyes started tearing up before she flung herself at him again. Thank you, I've never gotten anything so nice before. I'm glad you like it, the golden-haired boy said with a very gentle smile on his face. I bet she has never or hardly ever gotten a present before. Good night, Haku-chan. Good night, Naruto-kun, Haku replied with traces of tears still in her eyes. After saying good night outside Haku's apartment, Naruto went back to his apartment and secured it and set up the dimension scroll. He had decided that it was finally time to find out what happened to his blood clone on its trip to the ruins of Uzushiogakure no Sato, village hidden in the whirling tides. After opening up and going into the dimension scroll, he started walking up the long staircase that lead to his training ground. As he walked up the stairs, he became lost in thought. I really need to set up some way to bypass this tripod. Why don't I set up a Hiraishin seal at the top and bottom of the stairs so I can just go directly from top to bottom, that way I won't have to walk as far. Maybe I should set up a hidden room for storage at the bottom of the stairs too, that way I can put anything I need down there and access it quickly. I could store anything from scrolls to kunai and shuriken to medical supplies. I guess I can have my Chishio Fuin Bunshin make Ida. He was so lost in thought that he didn't even realize when he arrived at the top of the stairs. He actually kept walking until he ran into one of his clones and knocked it over, forcing it to dispel. A few seconds later the Chishio Fuin Bunshin appeared, having received the dispelled Cage Bunshin's memories unexpectedly. Perfect, I was just about to come looking for you, Naruto said. What's up boss? I was expecting you to come see me as soon as I got back from Uzu no Kuni, Chishio Naruto said. Yeah, I was in bad shape after the fight on Tezuna's bridge. I was forced to kill a large number of people and I wanted to give myself time to recover and get someplace safe, home in this case, before I retrieved the memories and whatever you found. I'm glad it wasn't me, Chishio Naruto said before a slightly confused expression came over its face, though it kind of was Maya. Anyway, it is time I recharge you and retrieve your memories. Just one question, do you get my memories when I recharge you? No boss, only you get my memories. I guess that would have been too easy, Naruto said before he placed his hand on the Chishio Fuin Bunshin's forehead and started recharging it with chakra as he got the memories. As soon as the boss ordered him to get moving, Naruto transformed into an owl eagle and started flying in the direction of Uzu no Kuni. He flew due west through the night and arrived at the coast of Hai no Kuni by the morning. After arriving at the coast, he found a large tree and finding a comfortable branch, fell asleep. He woke back up at about noon and transformed into an albatross before taking off and continuing in a western direction but flying extremely high so he would be able to see any islands. Around 4 in the afternoon, at least by his estimation, Naruto saw what he was looking for, an island completely surrounded by whirlpools. They were very large whirlpools, considering how high he could see them from. Diving down toward the island, he could easily see where there had once been a city. Interestingly enough, the city itself was shaped like a giant spiral. Since there were only traces of one settlement, he didn't even have to figure out which ruined village to go to. That said, he landed in the center of the ruined village and transformed back into his natural form. When he looked upon the village with his human eyes, he was actually surprised at how big it must have been, nearly 2/3 RDS as big as Konoha. He realized he would never be able to search Uzushio by himself and used 1/3 of his chakra to make perform Kage Bunshin no Jutsu. He only used that much because while he did regenerate some chakra over time if he slept or ate, it wasn't even at 1/10 of the speed that the original did. Even only using 1/3 of his chakra, he created around 500 Kage Bunshin. Everyone split up and search everything, dispel if you find something interesting, Naruto commanded. Yes boss, all of the Kage Bunshin said at once. It was actually very interesting how Kage Bunshin created by a Chishio Fuin Bunshin worked. Instead of sending all of the memories back to the original, they sent all of their memories back to Naruto and he in turn gave or possibly sent, if he was dispelled, his memories back to the original. Naruto decided to follow his own orders and went exploring. Unlike his clones, he was searching for some shelter as he would probably be there for several days. He found a still intact, if run-down home on the very edge of the village and decided that was where he would be staying. He created a Hiraishin marker on the inner wall of the building just in case and went back out to hunt for some food. It ended up taking until almost noon the next day for the Kage Bunshin to find anything important, and it was a very important discovery, the command building of Uzu, the equivalent of the Hokage Tower. Despite it being the counterpart of the Hokage Tower, it wasn't a tower. It was more of a mansion if the ruins were anything to go by. It was a 3 or 4-story building at one point in time. It was still mostly intact, including the symbol for Uzushiogakure on the front, which was what allowed him to figure out what the building was. The symbol for Uzu was actually very similar to his family crest, but instead of a single line in a spiral, it was 3 lines in separate colors that formed the spiral. The outermost line was dark blue followed by a sea blue line and a white line. The building itself was actually oddly almost a cube shape. It was 4 rooms on each side, and despite there only being 3 floors left, or 2 in some places, it appeared that there were 4 at one point. When Naruto received these memories, he immediately went to the Uzu mansion, for lack of something better to call it, and created another 10 Kage Bunshin to explore it. He didn't know how stable the building was and couldn't afford to be destroyed or his mission would fail. It turned out that he didn't really need to worry about it because the rooms that his clones could reach on the 1st and 2nd floor were completely stable. Unfortunately, they couldn't find much. There were some records that they found in a well-hidden storage seal in what had to be the leader's office. This was actually very well hidden, and he probably never would have found it were it not for the skeleton of what was probably the last leader of Uzu that was reaching for it and his mother's tutoring in Fuinjutsu. He took the records and the seal of Uzushiogakure and sealed them in one of the seals that the original had provided. It took another day before his clones found the Uzumaki compound, which was in nearly perfect condition. He quickly found out why when his clones couldn't enter at all. In fact, when they tried, they were immediately dispelled. The protective barriers around the Uzumaki compound were that strong. The compound reminded him strongly of the Hyuga compound back in Konoha in its elegance, but wasn't quite so old-fashioned as the Hyuga compound. At least that was what it looked like from the outside. Naruto actually decided to wait to try to get into the compound until his Kage Bunshin finished exploring the island, just in case he was dispelled as easily as his clones were. After another 2 days, the rest of his clones dispelled when they finished exploring, and he decided it was time to chance the barriers of the Uzumaki compound. Like the Uzu mansion, it turned out he didn't have to worry. He smeared a bit of blood from the vial that he had been provided on his hand and placed it on the front gate where he could see a strange blood seal. As soon as he touched the gate, he felt like his body was being explored, and if the blood in his body didn't match the blood on his hand, something very bad would happen. Apparently because he was made of blood instead of just chakra, the seal accepted him as an Uzumaki and allowed him in, though it slammed closed as soon as he crossed the threshold. The barrier turned out to cover a much larger area than just the compound, several times as much area in fact. There were a series of training grounds with different environments, even including a small lake. There was a play area that was obviously for children, and there was even a small graveyard. As it had appeared from the outside, the building was in perfect condition even if it was completely deserted. Though he found that it hadn't been at the end, he walked through the building and searched the rooms that looked like people actually lived in them until he found a nursery. There was a single adult skeleton, a female from the clothes, and 7 skeletons that were clearly babies. They must have been trapped within the compound when the destruction of Uzu occurred and probably starved to death, considering that the building was otherwise untouched. After that, he quickly found the library. It was fully stocked with both shinobi-related scrolls and books and normal books and scrolls. As he looked around, he quickly found a lot of waterjutsu scrolls and a couple earth scrolls, as well as a small number of the other elements, which he quickly sealed in another one of the scrolls. Then he found the section of fuinjutsu, which was by far the largest section in the library, and sealed them up in another seal on the same scroll, which he put in one of his scroll holders before creating 3 Kage Bunshin, with whom he left the several more storage scrolls with and ordered them to pack up the library. The next thing he looked for was the clan head's office, and like he expected, that was where he found the real treasures. Upon entering the room, he at first thought there was nothing unusual and was almost disappointed when he noticed a large copy of the clan crest, the Uzumaki spiral. It was actually kind of strange and seemed out of place until he went up to it and got a closer look. Upon closer inspection, he realized that it was another blood seal, but a very well hidden one. He took out the vial of blood and smeared it on his hand before placing it on the seal. The second he started channeling chakra to it, it started sucking an incredible amount of him. It ended up draining almost 2/3 RDS of the chakra that he had left by the time the seal opened, and he was very glad that he had been resting quite a bit over the last few days. Before descending into the stairs that the seal revealed, Naruto placed another Hiraishin marker in the office. You never knew when you might want to come back after all. With that said, he started descending down the stairs. This set of stairs turned out to lead to a very deep but obviously man-made cavern. The stairs were almost as long as the ones in his dimension scroll. It turned out that cavern wasn't the right way to describe it. It was more of an underground extension of the compound. Unfortunately, it was almost empty, and if not for his Kitsune, he would have been completely blind, as whatever was once used to light the place had long disappeared. The underground area looked like it had been used a lot in the past, but at some point in time it had fallen out of use. He only found one thing as he was exploring the underground area. At the very end of the underground area was what appeared to be a shrine of some sort. It was not all that different from the rest of the complex, but it seemed to be far more opulent, with everything in the room seeming to draw attention to the shrine. On top of the shrine was one of the largest and oldest looking scrolls he had ever seen. It was so big that he didn't really want to try to carry it anywhere. As he approached it, he noticed that there was another blood seal just beneath where the scroll was resting. He decided to play it safe and spread some of the blood from the vial on the seal. It was probably a very good thing he did, because what appeared to be a cage of light materialized around the scroll before splintering. He really didn't want to think what it would have done to him if he hadn't deactivated whatever it was before he grabbed the scroll. Taking the scroll off of the shrine, he briefly opened it up and realized that it was a summoning scroll. He closed it back up before he really got a good look at it, deciding to wait until he was somewhere that had better light before trying to figure out what type of creature it summoned. With the underground complex explored, he went back up to the clan head's office and took one last look around. Going to the desk, he took the seal of the clan head and cleaned off the shelves and storing everything in another scroll. Then he went back to the library and found that his Kage Bunshin had finished their job, leaving a pile of scrolls on the reading table and a room full of empty shelves. Using the summoning seal on his left hand, which somehow still worked even though it was never applied to him personally but his original, he summoned the Dimension Scroll. He quickly transferred the storage scrolls into the landing at the bottom of the Dimension Scroll, very grateful that despite the fact that there was a small lake at the top of the stairs, the landing at the bottom was completely dry. When all of the storage scrolls were in the Dimension Scroll, he closed the entrance of the scroll and hung it on his back. After that, he decided there was one thing left to do before going into the Dimension Scroll himself. He went back to the nursery and collected the skeletons, taking them to the burial grounds he had spotted when exploring the area within the barrier. He used his newfound mastery with his earth chakra to create a small hole in the ground, just large enough to hold the woman and her charges. He gently laid them in the grave with the 6 babies surrounding the woman who had given up her life to watch over them. Why else would she have died in the nursery after all? She could have chosen any place in the compound to be her final resting place. After laying them to rest, he once again used his earth chakra to fill in the hole and then hardened the dirt into a stone slab and inscribed it. To the brave woman who stayed with her charges until the end and the 6 children, who never had the opportunity to live. Then he used his fledgling ability to manipulate wood chakra to grow flowers all around the new grave. When he was finished making the grave, he stepped back to look at his handiwork and realized that when he had grown the flowers they were all roses, blue roses. After laying the dead to rest, Naruto went back into the library where his clones were waiting and reopened the dimension scroll, letting his clones close the doorway and roll the scroll back up. As he was shut in the dimension scroll, Naruto went back up to the training grounds and took an apple from one of the apple trees that he and the cage bunshin he had created to work on Mokuton manipulation. They had come a long way even if it wasn't quite enough to start working on Mokuton ninjutsu yet. He took it easy for several days as his chakra reserves refilled but got bored when the boss didn't open up the dimension scroll after 5 more days even though he knew he was in Nami now. He decided to get back to training just to alleviate his boredom. The first thing he did was summon the Hiraishin Kunai he kept in the dimension scroll before making 50 cage bunshin, all of whom had Hiraishin Kunai in their hands like Naruto. Okay you lot, get to work on the Hiraishin no jutsu. Being able to only use the jutsu 3 times before being exhausted is completely unacceptable, Naruto commanded before putting the kunai away and creating another 100 cage bunshin. Half of you on Mokuton, the other half on Hyuden. I want to be able to grow trees from nothing and create kunai, shuriken, and senbon from ice in less than a second. Get to work. So that is how the next 2.5 weeks went, with Naruto creating cage bunshin to train while he usually slept or ate to replenish his chakra. It continued until one of the Mokuton clones suddenly dispelled and Naruto went to find out why. Wow, I'm going to have to go back there sometime. I bet I could duplicate the Uzumaki compound like I did the training ground for the dimension scroll, Naruto said to himself after he had received the memories from his Chishio Fuin bunshin. Is the summoning scroll you found still in the same place? Yes boss, I left it down at the bottom of the stairs. Good. I'm going to grab that and take care of it tomorrow, but right now I have to go sort through the documents I appropriated from Gato. Could you create some type of storeroom down at the bottom of the stairs? It would be a serious pain in the ass to have to come all the way up here to grab anything. Just make sure it is well hidden, Naruto said, the distaste in his words when he mentioned Gato dissipating when he mentioned the storeroom, as he turned around and started walking to the stairs, but then he paused at the top. Also, can you put some light seals along the stairway with a chakra feed at the top of the stairs and right next to the entrance? While I don't really need the light, if I bring anyone else in they will. No problem boss, Naruto said as Naruto walked toward the stairs and back to the bottom, stopping only to create a Hiraishin marker a few feet away from the stairs and another a few feet in front of the entrance to the scroll. That works exceptionally well. Since my Chishio Fuin bunshin has already absorbed all of the experience of the cage bunshin that he made, it is like I am only absorbing the memories of a single cage bunshin instead of hundreds. While I do get a worse headache, it only happens once and it is probably much safer for me than making hundreds of cage bunshin like he does. Naruto thought. But this is a serious mind fuck trying to figure out how to distinguish him from me. We are pretty much the same person, but not quite. Damn, I guess I won't be able to take care of that summoning scroll tomorrow after all, Naruto groaned to himself. I have to see Gigi and Kakashi will be coming over at some point tomorrow, hopefully he will be here early. With that in mind, Naruto unsealed everything he took from Gato's base and created 4 cage bunshin to help him sort it out. Okay guys, make 1 pile of business papers, 1 of deeds or proof of ownership, 1 pile of other stuff, and 1 of stuff I should check out, he said before he sat down and started following his own orders. They continued until one of his clones spoke up. Boss, come look at this, it said, the urgency in its voice quickly catching Naruto's attention. Naruto got up and went up to the clone in question. What is it? I've got a bunch of scrolls here that Gato probably took from the Nuke Nin that he killed before Zabuza. I'm pretty sure that he never opened them because all of the storage scrolls are still full. With a good job, Naruto accepted the scrolls and said, I'll search through those. If you 4 find any more, give them to me. Naruto brought the scrolls over to the living room table and began to open them. He threw the first few, which were merely basic contract scrolls, in the garbage. The remaining scrolls weren't as worthless. The 4th one contained a trapped storage scroll that would self-destruct if the right-hand seal sequence wasn't followed. He needed approximately 60 minutes to disarm the trap, but the effort paid off. An additional scrolla, a summoning scrolla, emerged when he opened the storage scroll. When he opened it, he discovered that it was a contract for birds. Whoa, what a stroke of luck! Had I discovered this prior to the scroll in the Uzumaki compound, I would have signed it without hesitation, thought Naruto. Although it may be possible to sign more than 2 scrolls, I would prefer to sign the one I did find because, if the scroll is any indication, it has been in my family for a very long time. I also don't want to miss the opportunity. Though Sasuke tends to be a loner like many birds of prey, I think he would fit in with the birds well and this contract would work well for him. He opened a few more ninjutsu scrolls after that. They explained about Doden. Domu, Earth Release. Earth Spear. A method that preserved the user's mobility while hardening their skin to the consistency of diamond. Next came Doden. Doryu Joheki, Earth Release. Earth-style rampart, which allowed the user to customize the size and shape of a substantial wall or rampart. Earth Release. Underground Projection Fish Technique, or Doden. Dochu Aigyo no Jutsu, is a low-level technique that enables the user to tunnel through the ground with very little resistance. A scroll with notes on elemental variants was on Shunshin no Jutsu, Body Flicker Technique. The Mizu Bunshin no Jutsu, Water Clone Technique, was the subject of the last scroll. Naruto reasoned, Gado's last few Nuke Nin must have been from Iwa or just Earth users in general. However, Choji is a perfect fit for this technique. He'll be extremely terrifying because of it. The thought of him in his diamond-hard exterior and meat tank form makes me shudder. Shino would likely benefit from it as well. I doubt it would require a lot of chakra and would give him excellent defense while his bugs did their jobs. They would probably succeed with the subterranean projection fish as well. It would be even more terrifying if Choji could use it in his underground diamond tank, which makes me wonder. I think I'm the only one who can make use of the rampart in the Earth style. I'll duplicate the Mizu Bunshin and Shunshin techniques for everyone, though I think Hinata and Sakura will do best with that one. The last scroll was just another storage scroll without a summoning scroll inside. That would have been far too simple. However, this one did have almost 10 million ryo worth of treasure. Naruto began, not even bothering to keep his feelings to himself. Okay, I'm definitely glad Gigi set up that bank account for me. The sound of Naruto's voice caused the clones to all look up. I would be happier about the fact that Fat Midget couldn't open scrolls, boss. You never would have found that if he could. He nodded, true, then turned back to his clones. How are you doing on those? We're done, boss. After a brief pause, Naruto asked, good. Is there anything else that I need to look at? His Kage Bunshin shook his head, saying, seal the piles up separately and label them, then you can dispel. He took out several blank scrolls, resealed the money, copied the jutsu for each of his friends, and made a copy for himself while his clones obeyed his commands. When he saw the old man tomorrow, he would have to give him the originals. The Kage Bunshin informed him that they were done while he was writing. He completed his writing quickly, writing the names of his friends on the corresponding scrolls and then sealing the originals in a different scroll to present to the Hokage. After finishing everything, he made his bed and fell asleep. He went to the bank where he had an account first thing in the morning. Because the manager and owner are nice people, Gigi had opened the account for him there. He always spoke with the manager when he came to make deposits or withdrawals because of this. As the only person with access to his account, he really needed to see the manager. He approached the manager's office after entering the bank and rapped on the door. He heard someone say, come in, from beyond the door. Door opened by Naruto. Hello Akihiro-san, I've come to make a deposit, a very big deposit. The man with the brown eyes behind thick glasses and the flat black hair combed to the side, dressed in a business suit, said, ah Naruto-kun, it is good to see you again. You haven't been here for quite a while. Yeah, I graduated and became a shinobi, which means I am technically an adult, so I no longer get an orphan's allowance. For the past few weeks I was on my first C-rank mission, and for a couple weeks before that I was on D-rank missions. Maybe I should call them chores. I only made enough money to survive on those. Well, I'm glad to see you again. It means you made more money and are not just scraping by. That is especially true if you have a very big deposit like you said. Naruto said, yeah, this came into my possession during my last mission, unsealing the scroll containing the entire sum of money. I didn't even know what was in it until last night. Finally, over his shock, Akihiro remarked, I can definitely see why you said you have a very large deposit. I guess we have to count this now. I guess so, Naruto replied. The two counted the money for the next 30 minutes. In fact, they counted it multiple times before arriving at the same total. So you have 10,236,129 ryo that you are putting in your account. Is that correct? Replied Akihiro. Naruto gave a nod. That is correct, and it puts me in a good mood because it means I am closer to being able to buy a compound or something like that if I want. I guess we'll have to see what happens. It is very impressive that you managed to get this much ryo as a rookie genin, especially after just one C rank mission. It wasn't actually a C rank, it got upgraded to an A rank. We ended up killing or causing the death of this scumbag named Gato. Our team ended up defeating two Chunin, and a bunch of thugs while protecting our client, Naruto said. Akihiro questioned, Gato, do you mean the shipping magnate? Naruto went on to tell Akihiro the tale of his first mission out of the village, saying, that is exactly what Gigi said when Kakashi-sensei reported to him yesterday. Yes, that Gato. He had taken over the shipping industry of Wave Country and was essentially trying to enslave the entire country. Our client was building a bridge that would break his control. Since the man was someone he trusted, he actually told him almost the whole story. Wow, that is quite an adventure for your first real mission. That's right, replied Naruto. Could I get a receipt for my deposit? Normally I wouldn't ask, but for a deposit that size. With a, sure. Akihiro began to fill out a form, signing it at the bottom with the details of his deposit. He took the form, put it in his pocket, and walked out. He took that form out and sealed it into the newly freed storage scroll after he left the bank. He wished to protect it because it was extremely valuable. Giving his friends the scrolls he had copied for them was the next thing he planned to do. He chose to begin at the training area where their teams convened because he wasn't entirely sure where to look for them. Upon approaching Training Ground 10, he made the decision to halt and make an effort to locate Shikamaru and Choji initially. As it happened, he was lucky to find them immediately. They were at their training ground, which was just next door to this small building. Choji watched and Ino trained as Shikamaru played a game of shogi with their Junin sensei. Catching Team 10's attention, Naruto called out, Hey Shika, Choji, how are you two doing? Hey, Naruto, Choji returned the call. Naruto winced as Ino practically screamed, Naruto, what are you doing here? Shikamaru bided his time until he approached. What's up, you troublesome bastard? I have a present for both you and Choji, Naruto said in response to Shikamaru. The Junin said, really, what might that be? Naruto said to the Junin, sorry, I never caught your name. What was it? He answered, I'm Sarutobi Asuma. I should have known. You look a lot like Gigi. Anyway, I made some copies for them. I got some jutsu scrolls on my last mission, he remarked, pulling out the two scrolls bearing the names of Shikamaru and Choji and tossing them aside. Asuma inquired, what have you got there? Naruto began his second story of the day, saying, well, our last mission started out as a C rank but was upgraded to an A- rank. By the time he was done, the other genins' mouths were hanging open and Asuma's cigarette was lying on the ground, forgotten. You really went through all of that? Ino asked, opening her mouth to speak first out of curiosity. Yes, a few of the scrolls one discovered contained jutsu that Gato most likely stole from the betrayed Nuke Nin. There were some general jutsu as well as a few that were ideal for Choji. When Asuma finished reading the scroll that Naruto had given Choji, he looked at the jutsu that were inside and said, these would complement his family style perfectly. Looking at Naruto with wide eyes. I understand, but can you picture how deadly he could become if he were to merge those jutsu with his family's, particularly now that he's perfected his earth affinity, Naruto remarked in a somewhat menacing manner. Choji took hold of the scroll, read the jutsu, and then, with a gleeful sparkle in his eyes, mimicked his sensei's. Thanks Naruto, I'm going to start working on them immediately. What were the jutsu you gave Choji? Ino finally asked, her curiosity finally getting the better of her as Choji turned to work on the jutsu. Out of them, two were ideal for him. First, one can make their skin as hard as a diamond by using Doden. Domu, Earth Release. Earth Spear. Imagine the kind of damage that Choji, with his diamond-hard skin, could inflict in his Nikuden Sensha, human bullet tank, form. He would be able to travel underground with the second jutsu, Doden. Dochu Aigyo no Jutsu, Earth Release. Underground projection fish technique. It might be possible to eliminate one of the technique's weaknesses, which is crashing into walls or other objects that can slow him down, if he could use that while in his Nikuden Sensha form. However, I'm not sure if it would work. The Mizu Bunshin and Shunshin no Jutsu are the other two, and the only ones I taught Shikamaru. Even though neither of them is particularly fond of water, The Mizu Bunshin solid cloning method is comparatively inexpensive, and Shunshin might be very useful especially for Shikamaru. In an attempt to take advantage of Shikamaru's sloth, Naruto said, if he learns that he will be able to get wherever he needs to go quicker so he can watch the clouds longer before he has to do anything. As troublesome as it is, that will be convenient and those jutsu will definitely make Choji a force to be reckoned with, Shikamaru lazily replied. As Ino approached Naruto, she asked, do you have anything for me? With a flirtatious tone, she said. Nope, Naruto replied bluntly. I haven't trained with you, I don't know what your element is, and I don't know how you fight. However, if I had to speculate, you seem to have a special affinity for lightning or fire. With these two, it's not the case. I won't give you any jutsu because I don't know these things. Asuma spoke up before the storm cloud could have a chance to strike Ino's head. He's right, Ino, it would be a bad idea for him to give you any jutsu, he said, turning to face Naruto. Just one question, you trained with the guys when? Since we were in our early 80s, we have trained together. During the academy, we had ample time to complete our chakra control exercises and become proficient in our elements. Mastered your elements? Asuma's face indicated that he would have lost his cigarette by now if he hadn't already. He nearly yelled, what are they? Naruto held out his hand, formed a small rock with earth chakra, and then cut it in half with wind chakra. He was going to wash it away with water, but there was none nearby, so he had to do it the harder way of condensing a lot of water out of the air. Well, I won't answer for Shikamaru and Choji but I have wind, water, and earth affinities, Naruto said. Asuma and Ino were left stunned as Naruto began to move away. I'll see you later, Asuma-sensei, he said. I have to see Shino and Hinata still. Shikamaru said, tell them I told you not to do anything too troublesome. After walking toward Training Ground 8, Naruto simply waved in acknowledgement. It took him approximately 10 minutes to arrive, but Team 8 was there thanks to his good fortune. Naruto chose not to interfere, instead approaching and sitting next to Team 8's sensei, a woman with long, slightly curly black hair and very distinctive red eyes, who was training with a three-way spar while their sensei watched. Unlike Team 10, Team 8 was dressed in what looked like an extra wide and tough bandage, with a red sleeve. Hello, Naruto said, noticing that she didn't appear to mind his presence. Although I would like to call you by name, I didn't catch your name when teams were assigned, just like with Asuma-sensei. As soon as she heard Asuma's name, she became more focused but still responded, saying, my name is Yuhi Kurenai, and your name is Uzumaki Naruto. Why have you come here? I came to present a gift to Shino and Hinata. It will likely be very beneficial to Shino and, to a lesser extent, Hinata. I would like to know if you enjoy Asuma-sensei. Kurenai blushed and stammered for a moment before gathering her composure. What do you mean? It is a bit late for that, you completely gave yourself away, Naruto replied, but I'll keep it to myself. How were you aware of this? May I ask? She inquired. Your reaction when I said his name gave me the first clue, but you confirmed it when I asked. I appreciate your honesty. Which gift is it for them? Before she could ask, Naruto answered, a couple jutsu I came across on my last mission. Ask Asuma-sensei when you see him. I've told the story twice today and I don't feel like doing it again. He then raised his hands. Kurenai said, okay, I'll do that, as the fight was coming to an end. Kiba got up from the ground and went after Hinata and Shino as they moved toward them. Regaining his balance, Naruto tossed the scrolls to Shino and Hinata and said, these are some gifts for the two of you, a couple jutsu. Later, I'll see you too. I still need to see Hokage Jiji and Kakashi-sensei. Without another word, Naruto waved goodbye and left, returning to his apartment before anyone could speak to him. Wow, you are actually early, exclaimed Kakashi as he found Kakashi waiting right outside his apartment door. That was not what I had anticipated. Naruto, where have you been? Why couldn't Kakashi just pick the door like he usually did, but for some reason he couldn't watch Naruto open his door? Kakashi questioned. I visited Team 10 and Team 8 after going to the bank. I discovered some jutsu scrolls with moves that complemented my friend's attack techniques to a T. Can you imagine the potential of Doden, Domu and Doden, Dochu Igyo no Jutsu? Imagine the skills an Aburame and an Akamichi could possess with those. In particular, since they have both mastered or almost mastered the element of earth. Kakashi said gravely, that would be scary, as they entered Naruto's living room. That is my understanding, which is why I provided them with duplicates of the scrolls one discovered. I also have copies for Sakura and Sasuke. I actually have Sasuke a really nice present. Okay. Now that that's set up, I believe I promised to let you in on one of my secrets, he said, adding that he had secured everything just like the previous evening by drawing up a security barrier and closing the blinds. Yes, you did, Kakashi remarked, observing Naruto take the scroll off his back and hang it on the wall. I had been meaning to ask, but what is that? Naruto said, that is the secret I had planned to show you, as he opened the Dimension Scroll's gate by channeling chakra into it. This is my private training ground. Come on, I'll show you. Kakashi began to say, that scroll is your private training GR, but she stopped when Naruto walked straight into the scroll. Until he understood exactly what he was dealing with, Kakashi chose to simply follow him rather than having any doubts. As soon as he entered the Dimension Scroll, Naruto turned to look around and saw what he was looking for right as his sensei appeared behind him. He casually said to Kakashi, I honestly didn't think that they would have been so quick in setting this up. I only asked for it last night, as he approached the waist-level seal slightly to the left of the entrance. The whole hallway lit up as he channeled chakra into the seal, saying, now, let's see if it works. In order to alert his Chishio Fuin Bunshin to his impending arrival and the fact that he wasn't alone, he then created a clone and dispelled it. Kakashi questioned, what is this? And how did the passage light up? Naruto explained to his sensei what he had explained to the Hokage as they ascended the stairs. The light is created by a series of light seals that my clones created last night with them being powered through the seal I just touched. This place is what I call a Dimension Scroll. Until they reached the top of the stairs and emerged onto his training ground, Kakashi remained silent. Surprised by what he was seeing, he stammered, but how is this possible? How many clones do you have training in here? I thought I told you. I'm showing you this place to show that I trust you with one of my biggest secrets. And about your other question, I honestly have no idea how many Kage Bunshin I have in here. Yeah, boss has no way to know. I was the one who created them after all, she replied, said Naruto. Doubting again, Kakashi said, what do you mean you created them? How could a Kage Bunshin create other Kage Bunshin? I'm not a Kage Bunshin. I'm a Chishio Fuin Bunshin. Boss came up with the idea after learning how to make a Chishio Bunshin. He realized it was unfeasible since it required 2 gallons of blood at a time, so he created a blood duplication seal for use as the base of the jutsu. I created him and he usually stays up here training. It works really well because I don't have to process the memories of all of the Kage Bunshin he creates. He does that and I only have to process his memories when I recharge his chakra. Come on, let's go back down. I brought you in here as a show of my trust in you, but I still have to go see Gigi and give him the documents I took from Gato, Naruto said as he headed back towards the stairs. Up until he stopped and turned back to his clones, Kakashi followed him. Kakashi-sensei, go on ahead of me, I need to recharge my clone. Kakashi replied, okay, I'll see you back in your apartment. Naruto returned to his clone as soon as he sensed Kakashi was heading down the stairs. Good job on the light seals, they worked perfectly. Thanks boss. No problem. Here are some jutsu that I managed to acquire, have a few Kage Bunshin practice Shunshin but you need to dispel most of them after I leave. There is a good possibility that Aburame Shibi will be coming in here to make sure the place is healthy. Okay boss, I'll see you later, Naruto said, later, and then he trailed Kakashi down the steps. Upon returning to his flat, Naruto discovered Kakashi seated in one of his chairs. With haste, he turned it off, rolled it back up, and draped it across his back. So how did you like my Dimension Scroll, Kakashi-sensei? Naruto did an amazing job, remarked Kakashi to himself. I don't even think his parents could have done that. He went on, does the Hokage know about it? Of course, while I use it as my own personal training ground, I realize it has quite a bit of potential, so I showed him just before graduation. A lot of that potential would be lost if too many people found out about it, so please keep it a secret. My meeting with Gigi today isn't just giving him those documents but also him having Aburame Shibi check the health of the area so I can take anything I might need into the area. Walking back toward the front door, Kakashi said, I understand. Let's go, you need to go see Hokage-sama and I have some reading to do. I'll see you the day after tomorrow. Just as Kakashi was ready to open the door, Naruto dashed back to the location where he had placed the scroll containing the 3.75 million ryo. Kakashi-sensei split this between you, Sakura, and Sasuke. I already took my share. He stopped and asked, what is it? A bonus I confiscated from Gato. Kakashi shook his head and said, I see, until the day after tomorrow, but Naruto could see a tiny smile hiding behind his mask. With the storage scrolls containing the sorted documents, Naruto made a hasty trip to the Hokage tower to deliver the documents to the Hokage. He entered through the old man's window after climbing the tower's exterior walls straight up. He had wanted to do this for a long time but hadn't let himself since he wanted to conceal his abilities. He noticed that the Hokage was focused on his paperwork, so he used all of his chakra suppression to sneak up on him as stealthily as possible. Naruto called out, "Good morning Gigi," from right next to him. The Hokage leapt and threw a small orange book into the air, only for Naruto to grab it before it could fall into his hands. "And here I thought Kakashi-sensei was a pervert. I didn't think you would be one too," he grumbled. "Naruto!" exclaimed the elderly man upon realizing who had startled him. "How did you get in here?" Naruto simply gestured toward the open window. "I've wanted to do that for a long time, but I never thought I would be able to sneak up on you. Honestly, I'm even more surprised the 4 Anbu let me." "Wait a second, are any of your Anbu guards women today?" A tiny giggle was heard by Naruto. "I guess so. I bet they just plain let me sneak up on you as punishment for reading that porn." The laughter wasn't as quiet this time. "Busybody Anbu," Hiruzen muttered in the background. Naruto asked, "Really?" as he retreated in front of the desk. "I brought the papers. The separate categories are sealed in these scrolls. There are business papers, deeds or proof of ownership, miscellaneous other stuff, and jutsu." "Jutsu? How did a man like Gato get his hands on jutsu?" Gato said that he had hired and killed Nuke Nin before, so he probably got the jutsu from them. The jutsu aren't really dangerous or uncommon, except possibly Doden. Domu, which I have never really heard about it before. The elderly Hokage perused the jutsu scrolls before responding. "That is probably a good guess. I assume you made a copy of these?" "Yes, I did," Naruto declared bravely. The professor picked up the other storage scrolls and said, "That is fine. None of these jutsu are dangerous to the user. I'm actually very glad you did give the originals to me. Many of my shinobi would just plain keep them for themselves. Also, thanks for sorting these for me." Naruto smiled mischievously. "No problem Gigi. What about Shibi-san?" "Oh yes." Cat. Adjacent to Naruto, bowing down to the Hokage, was an Anbu wearing a 3-line cat mask and long purple hair. "Yes Hokage-sama? Would you please go to the Aburame compound and ask Shibi-san if he has some free time? If he does, ask him to come see me, if not, tell him it can wait for another day." "Yes, sir," the Anbu with the mask replied. "Now my boy, Kakashi mentioned something about a sword and a map. What was he talking about?" Naruto said, "I totally forgot to tell you about that. But before I explain that, there is something I need to try, but we need some privacy first." The Hokage pleaded with Anbu to leave them. After they left, he turned on the privacy screen, which briefly made the walls glow blue. After completing that, Naruto made a seal that rendered the room inoperable. "I figured out what the small points of chakra on Danzo's arm are." At that point, Naruto paused and began to clearly sniff the air. In fact, he detected 3 distinct smoldering smells. Reaching the first point, he discovered a book. When he opened it, he discovered a seal tag written in black ink. He went on and located 2 more before returning to his original position in front of the elderly Hokage. Naruto deactivated his seal and said, "It appears Danzo was listening in on any conversations you had that involved him. How did you come to that conclusion?" "As soon as you activated the privacy barrier, I created an original seal of mine. I call it a disabling seal. What it does is cause the ink of any seals that are activated while this seal is active to smolder. The only thing I said was about Danzo and we got these," he said while presenting the seal tags. "Fortunately these appear to be trigger-activated recording seals, so you can probably use them to set a trap for whoever placed them." The elderly man's eyes glowed with malice for a moment before becoming thoughtful again. "Thank you. This could work very well. What were you saying about Danzo's arm?" "I figured out what the small points of chakra are. Actually I know what both types are or know how to find out. The small points are Sharingan. When Sasuke activated his Sharingan, the chakra signature of his eyes became almost identical to the small points on Danzo's arm, and his right eye is similar but felt darker. The arm itself felt like that male Anbu with the cat mask. I noticed that before but didn't realize that people with the same Kekai Genkai had such similar chakra signatures." The Hokage's expression became increasingly serious and irate all at once. Naruto tried hard not to show his anger on his face, but Naruto was truly afraid. A knock on the office door sent Hiruzen reeling from his rage, just as he was about to lose control over his expression. Pulling down the curtain of privacy, the Hokage yelled, "Come in." Aburame Shibi entered the room through the door. You needed me for something, Hokage-sama? Before responding, the elderly man turned on the privacy barrier once more. Shibi-san, young Naruto consulted your son about something, but your son suggested he ask you due to your greater experience and knowledge. Shibi looked over at Naruto. And what might this matter be, Uzumaki-san? Will you swear to keep this matter a secret? Shibi turned to face the Hokage, and when he nodded, he responded positively. Of course, Uzumaki-san. I will keep this matter a secret as long as it doesn't affect the security of the village. Naruto said, that will do, and he removed the dimension scroll from his back to hang it on the office wall. Then, in order to keep everyone from seeing what was going on, he went to the windows and lowered the blinds. Naruto began, observing Shibi's raised eyebrow. First, you must know that I am nearly a seal master. I created a modified storage scroll that contains a 2-kilometer cube of space that I used to create a training ground. While uttering those words, he returned to the scroll and unlocked the portal to his pocket dimension. As soon as he entered and saw Shibi and the Hokage following, he channeled chakra into the light seal array, causing the staircase to light up. The old Hokage said, this is much better. When did you add that, Naruto? I had my clones create it last night. There is a seal at the top and bottom of the stairs which when you channel enough chakra into them, you get this. To get back to my explanation, this modified storage scroll, which I call a dimension scroll, is a pocket dimension. I used a large-scale duplication seal to duplicate the space I needed. What I asked Shino to do was check the health of the ecosystem in here. He and his allies checked it and told me it appeared healthy, but he suggested that I ask you due to your greater experience. I see. I have no problems checking this matter seeing how you have Sarutobi-sama's support for your project, Shibi responded. Thank you, Shibi-san, Naruto said, here we are. As they emerged into the day's sunlight that was visible through the dimension scroll, Shibi stopped again, this time with genuine surprise on his face. Is there anything you will need to perform your evaluation, Shibi-san? Sarutobi responded. Just an hour of time. You will have your time. Naruto, would you please show me your map and sword? Okay, Gigi, let's head over here and give Shibi-san some space, Naruto said, gesturing to the little lake. After they came to a halt, Naruto took off his map and gave it to Hiruzen. To use this, put a little chakra in your finger and circle part of the map. Right now it is restricted to the lands of fire, rivers, hot water, and Nami. Following Naruto's instructions, Hiruzen circled Konoha and a small area outside of it. He circled an area, and it instantly appeared, the terrain appearing as a hologram. Now, do the same thing again but in the genjutsu. Once more, Hiruzen did as instructed and focused on Konoha. The Hokage tower was visible to him due to the extreme close-up. Naruto gave one more instruction before the old Hokage could say anything. Lastly, use a small amount of chakra to touch the scroll outside the map. The map turned into a scroll once more as the old man followed Naruto's advice. The Hokage stared in astonishment for a few minutes before speaking up again, asking, what is this? How did you accomplish that? This, then, is a mental image of me. I changed it from looking like a sewer to reflecting every place I've ever been when I got access to it. It wasn't long before I realized it was a perfect replica of reality. I made a map with a projection seal to represent that after realizing that. It took me a few years to figure out how to make it function as I had intended. Simultaneously, I began dispatching clones to investigate the region and enlarge the mapped area. This is what I ended up getting by combining the projection seal, a genjutsu seal, and a physical map. If you are able to finish it, this might be beneficial. It would actually be very helpful right now. I would like another copy, please. With a tentative, I guess so, but it might take a while, Naruto responded. Hiruzen stared at the map for a minute more before returning it to Naruto and watching as he sealed it in his palm. But what about your sword? I have been working on that for a very long time. I made a sword after learning how to use one because I could never afford to buy one. Given my proficiency in Fuinjutsu, I chose to craft a sword for myself using that. After concluding his speech, he opened one of the Hiraishin kunai. The elderly man was unable to respond as he used chakra to summon his sword. Wah! Exclaimed the Hokage, looking stunned once more. I made sure that I was the only one who could use it. It will only take my chakra as input. The blade can cut through nearly anything because of its highly compressed chakra base and wind chakra coating. In addition, I possess the ability to channel various elemental chakras for any purpose I may require. I am able to do two unique things with it. First, I can extend it, Naruto said, channeling a lot more chakra in a hurry. He saw the blade triple in length before stopping to add more chakra, which caused it to vanish. The second thing is my favorite, Naruto declared, tossing the kunai into a nearby tree. Then, he used his right hand to channel chakra into the summoning seal, making the kunai reappear in his grasp. To ensure that I would never have to worry about the seal's secrets being stolen, I made a paired summoning seal. Considering that this sword can cut through a regular sword, I reasoned that it was better to be safe than sorry. Actually, I gave it a test. The elderly Hokage rubbed his forehead and said, "I need a drink. Do you have anything else you want to tell me?" "That's it, sorry. That's all I have available right now." "Good, let's go check on Shibi and then we can go wait for him in my office." Shibi was still standing a short distance from the stairs when they turned to face the stairs again. "We'll be waiting for you in my office, Shibi. Once you're done in here, please descend again." "I will," Shibi declared. Shibi emerged from the dimension scroll and stood in front of the Hokage's desk about 40 minutes after Naruto and the Hokage had taken their seats in the office. Naruto got up, quickly put the dimension scroll away, and then sat down again. Naruto took a seat again and awaited Shibi's assessment. "The condition of your pocket dimension is excellent. Currently, there are enough animals to support the ecosystem, but a number of insect species that are necessary to sustain such a large area are absent." "Shibi-san, how can I get these kinds of insects?" Naruto said. "I understand that doing this is outside the scope of my species. I can arrange for my son to bring you the necessary insects, but you will have to allow him access to implant them." "That's okay. I can give him access whenever I'm in the village and have some free time. My team is typically available after 5 in the afternoon, so I am aware that will only be for the upcoming week. The only prerequisite is that it be carried out in a private setting." "Accepted. I will have Shino bring the insects to you when we are prepared." "Thank you, Shibi-san," Naruto said, bending slightly. "Gigi, is there anything else you need before I leave?" "Naruto, you're free to go. I appreciate your time and your genuineness. When your team returns in a week for another assignment, I will see you again." "Okay. See you, Gigi," Naruto said, tossing his shoulder as he made his way to the exit. Naruto swiftly walked to the Uchiha compound after leaving the Hokage tower, deciding to give Sasuke the bird summoning scroll that Gato had temporarily taken possession of, since he had the rest of the day to use the summoning contract he had discovered in the Uzumaki compound. After making his way through the Uchiha compound to Sasuke's house, Naruto knocked on the front door, and after a few moments, it slid open to reveal Uchiha Mikoto holding Natsumi in her arms. "Hello, Natsumi-chan and Mikoto-san. How are you two doing?" Naruto inquired. Natsumi was a little bundle of energy. She honestly looked like a miniature version of her mother with long black hair and black eyes, but she was wearing a blue dress. Mikoto had not changed much. She still wore the same black long-sleeved shirt under a beige dress, but her hair was a little bit longer and she seemed less worn down than she had when Naruto had first met her. She just seemed happier with her life. Natsumi said, "Hey Naruto-ni, I'm doing real good." "Hi there, Naruto." Mikoto grinned at her daughter's comment. "We're doing well. How are you?" "I'm doing great. In fact, I brought Sasuke a small gift. During our most recent mission, I discovered some jutsu scrolls. I presume Sasuke informed you of this?" "Yes, he did when he told us how he activated his Sharingan." "All right, I don't feel like explaining it again because I've already done so twice today. However, I should say that my clones, raided Gato's base and that he had most likely betrayed a number of the nuke nin he had hired in the past. I wanted to give him a copy of their jutsu scrolls even though I knew he might not need them now that he had access to the Uchiha library. One of them is simply the Shunshin, but it includes instructions on how to do elemental Shunshin rather than the traditional leaf Shunshin. Is Sasuke still alive? You know where to go, he's training out back, yes. Though it's encouraging to see you're doing well following such a mission, see him." Naruto said, "Thanks Mikoto-san," and went around the house to the training ground where Sasuke usually trained. When Naruto noticed Sasuke punching a training post, he sat down and waited for him to finish. When he stopped to rest, Sasuke at last noticed him. "Hey Naruto, what are you doing here? I had assumed that our meeting would take place the day after tomorrow." As he threw Sasuke the first scroll, Naruto said, "We aren't meeting until then, but I've got a gift for you. 2 gifts if truth be told. There are 2 jutsu there. Mizu Bunshin and Shunshin with notes on making an elemental version that I thought you would like. Have you been able to get into the Uchiha library?" "Yes, I did, but I appreciate these more. It's true that I find the concept of an elemental Shunshin appealing. With that, I could really make an impact. However, you mentioned 2 things. What is the second one?" That is my gift. It found it sealed in a heavily trapped scroll that I took from Gato's base, Naruto said, pulling out the scroll he had sealed the bird contract into. He then threw the scroll to Sasuke. To be honest, it took me an hour to take the trap apart and open it. What is this, Naruto? Sasuke asked, opening the summoning scroll swiftly and glancing at it without understanding. That scroll is a summoning. It's a bird contract. Scrolls used for summoning are extremely valuable. Though I thought this one would work better for you, I have another one that I will sign. Simply make a handprint with the hand you wish to use to summon, and sign it with blood. Before he actually signed the scroll, Sasuke studied it for a few minutes with a very contemplative expression on his face. So how do I use this? You give some blood, and for the first time, you try to channel as much chakra as you can in one quick motion. To begin, make the hand signs for boar, dog, bird, monkey, and ram. Next, you call out Kachiyose no Jutsu to call forth a bird, and you slam the hand you used to make the handprint on the ground. Considering that you have never used a summon, how come you know so much about them? Questioned Sasuke. I found a book, which is where I learned about the chakra exercises I taught everyone. Feel free to give it a try. Biting his right hand once more, Sasuke quickly made the hand seals and slammed his hand down on the ground. A puff of smoke appeared, and a bird the size of a small eagle appeared, but it was clearly not an eagle. Rather, it resembled a small phoenix with its curved beak, bright orange feathers with red highlights that almost looked like flames. Is this a new summoner? What's your name? The phoenix inquired. My name is Uchiha Sasuke, Sasuke declared, not displaying any signs of proudness. How did you find our summoning scroll, and Uchiha huh? That was me, actually, Naruto said. I discovered it during my raid of this scumbag's base. I believed he had given the order to kill your previous summoner. I believed Sasuke would gain the most from the bird contract because it seems to fit his personality the best. I already have a contract that was reportedly passed down through my family. I don't think I'm wrong about that, though I could always be. And you? Who are you? You first. It is awkward to think of you as the Phoenix. Sorry, I'm Suzuka. The Phoenix said, looking a little sheepish, though neither boy knew how they could tell. Thank you for the honor, Suzuka-san, Naruto replied. I am Uzumaki Naruto. I see, said Suzuka, casting a sidelong glance at him before turning to face Sasuke. You have good taste in friends. For a moment, Sasuke seemed to be lost in thought as he gazed at Naruto. Yes, I do, he said softly. Suzuka gave Sasuke a contemplative glance and said, I think I like you. You are free to call upon me whenever you please, but in order to call upon any other member of our tribe, you must first call upon the boss of the Phoenixes, who also happens to be the boss of the bird contract. You shouldn't worry too much, I think. Your father will probably approve of you. With honesty, Sasuke said, Thank you. Thank you very much. I'll see you when you call me again, Suzuka uttered before disappearing. Well done, Sasuke. It seems like most first summonings look like a chick or other baby animal, Naruto exclaimed with joy. Now all you need to do is practice. The key is to channel as much chakra as you can at the precise moment when you slam down your hand. The larger and more powerful creature you summon will depend on how well you time it and how much chakra you can focus in that one instant. But you were fortunate. I had no idea that this contract gave you the power to call upon phoenixes. Naruto concluded, tilting his head in reflection. They are among the legendary summoning creatures along with a couple others that I can't think of off the top of my head. Are you serious? With honesty, Sasuke said, thank you for this. As he was about to leave, Naruto said, You're welcome. Sasuke, are you going to see Sakura today? With a flush, Sasuke said, Yes, we're having dinner tonight. Naruto laughed and stretched out his response, Really? Then he became serious and gave him another scroll. Then, could you give this to her? He asked. The jutsu I gave you is exactly the same, but Mizu Bunshin would probably be more effective for her. Yes. As Naruto departed, Sasuke said, See you later. What should I do now? Naruto walked slowly back toward his apartment, thinking to himself. As he turned to see Haku approaching, he heard his name called out and was about to enter the apartment complex. Hello and how are you doing, Haku-chan? Did you begin your job at the medical facility? Hello Naruto-kun. Yes I did, and I'm doing well, Haku exclaimed with joy as they entered the structure. How did your hospital shift go? Have you gained any knowledge? Naruto inquired, his expression mirroring Haku's. It was enjoyable. For the most part, I was just being tested on my medical knowledge and my ability to function in various scenarios. I believe tomorrow I'll pick up some more knowledge, perhaps even medical ninjutsu. Naruto remarked, I'm glad you seem to be having fun, recalling how many times he had to clarify things during the day before realizing he had given Kakashi the money scroll. I've got something for you too, by the way. What is it, really? Haku answered, playing with the ice rose that was tucked behind her ear. I think I would be fine with just this. Cash. When I went through the scrolls one recovered, I discovered a lot more money. I had planned to divide the money I had recovered from Gato among my team, but I kept some. In order to assist you in starting over, I have chosen to give you my share. That is not required. I'll be alright, I promise. I don't doubt you would be fine, but you can use it to get what you need and pay for your apartment until you get further in your training. Haku appeared to be about to say no, but Naruto didn't give her a chance. He hurried to his room, took the storage scroll with the remaining cash, and briefly stuck his head outside to wish Haku a good night before retreating back into his room. The following morning, Naruto went to the same clearing outside of Training Ground 44 where he had previously called upon Gamabunta, grabbing the scroll that held the Uzumaki summoning scroll. Upon reaching his destination, he utilized his senses to search for anyone within his reach. Upon pulling out the summoning scroll and reading it at last, he was astounded to discover that he was in possession of a long-lost summoning scroll, the dragon summoning scroll. I'll be damned, Naruto blurted out, but why didn't my clan use its dragon-shaping power when Uzu was under attack? After unrolling the scroll, Naruto decided not to worry about it for the time being and bit his left thumb to sign it and create the handprint on the bottom. He then quickly bit his thumb again to create the same hand seals he had told Sasuke to make the day before, channeled a little more chakra, and used it to summon Gamabunta by slamming his left hand onto the ground and yelling, Kachiyose no Jutsu. After the smoke cleared, Naruto saw a golden western-type dragon that was nearly twice as tall as Gamabunta and had slitted golden eyes that seemed wise despite their potential for extreme violence. The dragon was nearly uniformly gold with coiling crimson lines that highlighted its body. Naruto was stunned and nearly speechless. Who are you, child? The golden dragon asked, surveying its surroundings as though taking in a sight it had not seen in a very long time. Then it glanced down and saw Naruto. With a deep bass voice, he questioned. Uzumaki Naruto is my name. What number should I give you? Naruto gave a courteous response. With a long, low laugh that sounded more like a rumble, the dragon said, Uzumaki, huh? I thought your clan was exterminated, he mused. My name is Ryujin, the dragon god, and I am the chief of the dragon tribe. Someone as young and courteous as you are. I believe I like you. You are an Uzumaki. How did you escape the annihilation of your clan? A very long time ago, Uzushiogakure no Sato was destroyed. Before that, my mother was sent to this place in Konoha. My father then sacrificed his life to reseal the Kyuubi within me. Naruto began, realizing that he had to tell the creature in front of him the whole truth. She died when the Kyuubi was ripped from within her on the day I was born. An intriguing combination of Uzumaki and a Biju container. How did you obtain our scroll of summoning? Ryujin inquired. My team was recently dispatched to Wave Country on a mission, and I sent Uzu a special clone on the way. When my clone searched the Uzumaki compound, he discovered it. I see, Ryujin pondered. Are you hoping to become a Dragon Clan summoner? Answering this question correctly could save your life, so proceed with caution. How is Ryujin-sama doing? Naruto inquired. You are Kyuubi's container, but you still have to pass my test, which could kill you. The test will kill you if you don't pass it once it starts. Without hesitation, Naruto replied, then my answer is this. Yes, I seek to become a summoner of the Dragon Clan. Excellent. Extend the hand that you did not use to sign the agreement. There are several seals on your arm, Ryujin said, examining Naruto's right arm before continuing. When you finish this test, are you able to reapply them? Naruto replied, of course, and then removed his map from its storage seal, setting it on the ground. After saying, good, just remember that you must overcome your darkness, Ryujin moved faster than Naruto could follow and bit the elbow of his arm off before Naruto could even comprehend what he meant. It didn't end there. He wasn't bleeding even though his arm was gone, but that wasn't the worst part. A burning started at the end of his arm and spread outward like venom, eventually taking over his entire body and leaving him convulsing and rolling on the ground. What's wrong? What's happening to Y? Exclaimed Kit. False mental landscape. After a duration of indeterminate darkness, he was able to perceive his surroundings and was back in his orphanage room when all of a sudden everything was crystal clear. Naruto looked around, thinking to himself, well, this is probably one of my least favorite places, but what did he mean by my darkness? Naruto fled through the door and as fast as he could out of the orphanage, but that turned out to be a mistake too because every surface was covered in blood. Just when he was about to give up on that thought, he really wished he hadn't because the walls of the room suddenly covered the faces of the people who always looked at him with hatred-filled eyes. A slightly deranged voice said, "Isn't this great? This is what it should really look like." Naruto exclaimed, practically bouncing at the voice, "Who's there? I'm hurt. We've been together for such a long time and you don't even recognize me." "What do you mean? I've never met you before in my life." The voice asked, "Oh really?" As Naruto noticed movement out of the corner of his eye. Turning quickly, he saw something that scared him more than anything else he had seen thus far. It wasn't him, but it was him. It was an exact replica of him, with the exception that it had blood-red eyes instead of blue ones, pitch-black hair, and pale white skin. Naruto demanded, "Who are you and why do you look so much like me?" "Because I am you, you fool. At least I'm what you should be and thanks to that stupid dragon, you are no longer necessary. I will kill you and then every one of those fools in Konoha. I will show them that I can be exactly what they fear, exactly what they should fear," the gloomy Naruto said with a maniacal. "That will never happen. If I let that happen everything I have worked for will be for nothing. There will be nothing left for me to earn the respect of." "Of course there will be. Everything will respect me and my power." The dark Naruto's figure momentarily wavered, so quickly that any lapse in concentration would have been missed. There is a difference between respect and fear. I have never wanted power to be feared it. I want to grow powerful so I can protect all who are important to me, Naruto said. That is something you will never be able to do. Once more, dark Naruto faltered, allowing Naruto to catch sight of the amputated golden eyes. That doesn't matter, fear is plenty. With their fear, my power will be unopposed, I will control everything. Give me a break, dark Naruto teased, a crack showing in his appearance. Even if you were the most powerful being, the type of power you were talking about would eventually spell your destruction. Even if it wasn't immediate you would be defeated, Naruto said mockingly. What is the point of this Ryujin-sama? I will never seek power for those reasons. It goes against everything I am. So what is the point? With each word, the dark Naruto faltered and cracked more and more, tearing itself apart and leaving someone entirely different in its wake. This guy's hair was almost the exact same color as Naruto's spun golda, but it hung down past his shoulders. He had the same slitted golden eyes. He was dressed in an all-white kimono, which revealed a golden pattern on each arm facing the other that looked to be made of tiny dragon-shaped scales. The human-shaped Ryujin said, "Congratulations on passing the test of the dragon tribe. You are now our summoner." Naruto asked, his manners momentarily forgotten in the stress of the events, "What was the point of that and why did you make it seem like you bit off my arm?" "Oh, I did bite off your arm. If it had been in any other situation besides this test, you probably would have bled out. For that matter, if you had failed this test you would have bled out. The point of this was to test your reason for seeking our contract and the only way you could have done that is to defeat me like you did. The only way you could do so is to deny that type of power with everything you are. It could have been through words like you did or through fighting to deny it, but you had to deny it with every fiber of your being or you would have failed." Naruto exclaimed, almost terrified, "I'm glad I passed, but what about my arm? There is no way I will be able to live up to my potential as a shinobi with only one arm." "Worry not, young Uzumaki. I am using my power to regrow it as we speak. That was part of the test, so there is no way I would allow someone who passed to suffer that injury." Naruto exhaled a sigh of satisfaction. But what was the point of this test? While he also sighed, Ryujin seemed to be sorrowful. "Let me tell you a story of my tribe's past. Long ago, just after the time of the Rakudo Sennin, before our contract came back into the hands of your family, we had another summoner. His name was Yoichi. He seduced us into believing that he didn't want power for the sake of power and fear. He abused our power until he was killed by the first Uzumaki that signed the dragon summoning contract. He was actually the one who suggested a test of the sort that would cost the signer's life if they failed. With his advice we created a test that could only be passed when the person being tested denied power for the wrong reasons with all of their being. The dragon tribe is one of the most powerful contracts, one of the legendary contracts actually, we will not allow our power to be abused again." Again being courteous, Naruto said, "Thank you for telling me your reasons for such a perilous test." With another wave of his arm, Ryujin made everything vanish once more. "You are welcome. Now it is time to go, your arm has finished regenerating," he said. Actual world similar to the first time. Naruto was enveloped in darkness before his surroundings abruptly materialized once more. When he awoke, he was lying on the ground and Ryujin was in his line of sight. He held what should have been a stump up in front of his face after realizing after he had been lying there for a minute or two that his arm had been bit off. That's when he began to hear Kurama's voice once more. "Kid, are you doing okay?" "Kurama. What's not right? You simply seemed to vanish for a short while. How did you spend your time?" Kurama muttered to himself. Naruto informed him, "I signed the summoning contract for the dragons, and Ryujin was testing me." "You passed his test and you know Ryujin?" "Yeah, look," Naruto replied, opening his eyes to Kurama's gaze as he raised his fingers to glimpse Ryujin. "You see him? I have to get back to talking to you. I'll speak with you after I'm through." "Good kid," Kurama uttered before cutting the connection once more. Naruto returned his focus to the hand he was holding in front of his face. He was unable to perceive any differences in it. Apart from the loss of both seals on his hand, everything appeared normal to him. When he eventually turned it over, he saw the difference. The golden scale pattern he had noticed on Ryujin's human form was replicated on his arm. "I see you noticed the difference. That scale pattern acts like the tattoo that you have on your other arm, and by smearing blood on it and channeling chakra you can summon members from my tribe. I'm a little disappointed that you didn't mention that you have a contract with the Toads, but that is for another time," Ryujin replied. Naruto apologized, saying, "I didn't realize that it would matter." He then made a little bow. "In this case it doesn't. The dragons and toads have no quarrel with each other. If your contract had been with the snakes or another tribe we dislike, that wouldn't have been the case though. Enough of my world's politics. The pattern on your arm has another benefit besides acting as a summoning seal. Channel some chakra to the pattern and think of something along the lines of an armored glove or gauntlet." Following the instructions, Naruto visualized a gauntlet reaching his elbow. However, for almost a minute, nothing occurred. He felt a sudden itching sensation on his arm and noticed that tiny golden scales had grown into the pattern and beyond. When he stopped channeling chakra, the pattern went back to how it had been. He closed his eyes and repeated the process, not stopping when his arm started to itch, determined to see how far it could go. He opened his eyes but maintained the same chakra flow after the itching stopped spreading. The tiny golden scales covered his entire arm up to the elbow. He could move it normally and it didn't feel all that different, but it was unmistakably scaled. "Impressive, you got the hang of it much quicker than I expected. I will tell you 3 things about this. First, there is nothing that I know of that can cut through those scales. Demonic chakra imbued weapons might be able to, but I doubt it. This is actually because I, a golden dragon, was the one who gave you the test. My test is the easiest to fail but has other benefits. If you had received the test from one of the lesser members of my tribe you would have had scales of their color and the corresponding elemental weakness. That is the second thing. The third is a suggestion. There are other things you can do other than make a gauntlet like you did. Experiment and find what they are. But be careful, the other things take a very high amount of chakra to perform, though you might eventually find a way around that." Naruto was amazed. He replied, "Thank you for the gift," then tried to gather his thoughts. "You said the color of the member of the dragon tribe I summoned determines the elemental weakness. Would you explain that please? I wouldn't want a member to your tribe to be hurt because of my ignorance." "I'm glad you caught that, and I am even happier that you care. Blue dragons are water, red dragons are fire, green dragons are wind, yellow dragons are lightning, brown dragons are earth. Their elemental weaknesses are just like a shinobi's, but there are some mixed colors like blue-white or ice and reddish-brown or magma. Do you get the idea?" Naruto opened his mouth to say, "Yes, thank you for telling me and letting me be your summoner. Is there anything else I should know? I'm exhausted, it might only be Morna," but then he realized the sun was setting. "Never mind. Is there anything else? I'm going to bed." Ryujin laughed heartily and deeply. He said, "No, young Uzumaki, there is nothing else I can tell you at the moment, even though it doesn't seem like it. You have had a long day," right before vanishing in a massive cloud of smoke. After hurrying home to reward himself for passing Ryujin's test, Naruto stopped at Ichiraku Ramen on his way to his bed.
So this was it for the series. I hope you enjoyed it. To watch more series like this, subscribe to my channel. Till then, we weeb offline.